it shows that it's a very strong storm, regardless if there's a tornado. Even if you're seeing some lowering of the clouds, it never actually touches down. It is still a dangerous storm. So moving now from Henrietta to, it's still right over Oberlin. I don't like the way that it looks, truth be told, on the radar. Bottom line, what you need to do, I'll keep tracking. Even if you are watching me on a TV right now, we're also streaming. You can always bring your phone with you, turn the TV up really loud, get into your safe place. Whether that's going to be your basement, if you're like me, don't have a basement, get into the center of your house, away from windows, and you can always protect yourself. I became a meteorologist because I was scared of storms as a little kid, so if you have a child that is frightened as well, I hope to be able to let them know exactly where these storms are, because there's still tons of lightning and thunderstorms. But right now, my greatest concern are for our folks from basically South Amherst all the way to Oberlin. That's where the worst of this rotation is currently located. And just to heed the warning, to respect the box of this polygon, this pink flashing box, even in areas where the rotation is not yet at, like Lorain, like Avon, like North Olmsted. You're in the box for a reason, that they're expecting this warning to continue and for this storm to continue its strength as it moves up to the north and also the east. If you're just joining us, I apologize for having to cut in, but this is what we're here for, to let you know what's going on. And it's not just this tornado warning. Once I feel better about the weakening of this tornado, and hopefully that happens, this tornado warning, then we'll be able to look at some of the other storms. I'm just gonna make sure I keep an eye on all of the other storms that are across the area, just in case, because this is certainly a possibility for us to continue to have just quick little spin ups along this line. When I look across the area, I'm not super impressed with anything else than the tornado warning that we currently have right on top of Oberlin. Whiskeyville, you're just north of it, but moving over County Highway, it just actually shifted ever so slightly. So we're looking at Leavitt Road, crossing over right now into Leavitt Road. It's between South Amherst and also Oberlin. That is the heart of the storm as it continues to progress to the north and also the east, thankfully at a pretty fast speed of 50 miles per hour. So while this could be a damaging storm, it is not what we want to see on the radar. It's good to get it in and out, right? Let's get these storms out of here so it doesn't sit and go too slow, causing even more damage. And the tornado warning is in effect until 9 p.m. But there's a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 3 a.m. for some of our more eastern communities. It's going to be over before 3 a.m. But just giving you that idea, it's already making its way. The line as a whole is already making its way into about the central part of our viewing area. So I still believe by 11, majority of these storms are out of here. And of course, we'll have News 5 at 11. And I'm not gonna keep chatting the whole time on this cut-in when it's not necessary. But for the time being, it's still looking pretty solid rotation on the radar right now. I'm just gonna get a couple. So the tornado warning, as I mentioned, I gave the all clear a couple minutes ago to Erie and Huron. National Weather Service agreed. They gave that tornado warning a trim. It's really just that focus around Oberlin. And we're gonna track it again for you in case you're just joining us at this time, that we're gonna do a quick little track of where the worst of this rotation is going. The reds and greens are almost like kissing each other. So they're moving up to the north and east, 50 miles an hour. So sitting at 844, we have Elyria, you have 851, Sheffield 854, Avon 858, Rocky River, you're at 909, Lakewood 912. So even some of those communities that I named, not currently included in that tornado warning, but if it holds together, it could become an issue for you. I'm working in downtown Cleveland and I can hear the heavy rain ahead of this line that's pushing into Cleveland as I speak. As I mentioned, this is the worst of the storms that we have, but not to leave out our friends farther to the south. There are severe thunderstorm warnings for Wayne County. There's also a severe thunderstorm warning for Holmes, Coshocton. The worst of the storms moving away from Erie, Huron, Ashland. You're kind of in the thick of it right now, and Richland counties as well. So you're going to be able to get the all clear here pretty soon. And in the meantime, Yeah, I mean, I just don't like how the colors look. That even if it's not a tornado, this is a very strong storm and certainly capable of producing a tornado. But even if it doesn't, that's where you still have that threat to see damaging winds. So what we're looking at when we zoom in really close here is right around South Amherst, Whiskeyville. It's getting close to, it's moving right over Russia Road, County Highway 53. It does look like it'll probably skim ever so slightly just past Elyria. It's going to be close though. Bottom line, you are still in that pink box. And so we certainly want you to be into your safe spot. And that's true for Grafton. That's true for Avon. That's true for Lorain, because even if you miss out on the worst of the rotation, tornadoes can be fickle and they can be a little bit unpredictable about exact path. We have an idea of where it's going to go, and that is continuing to move up to the north and east at this time. But there's still some spikes even right now when we look over at Lorain, although there's not much rotation here, right? I mean, we're crossing right over from Lorain County into the lake there, but there's certainly some strong winds being indicated when you see those bright reds or bright greens, and sometimes when they start to curl around each other, that's when you have that radar indicated velocity or rotation that gives the possibility of a tornado. And that's right now the only one that we have is this one that's in Lorain County, and this warning is in effect for another 15 minutes. It'll be interesting to see how it progresses, because it's not a super, I'm confident that this is a tornado, but there is certainly enough rotation showing up and enough of those bright colors to be concerned that no matter what, that this is a damaging storms. And we've already seen some damage. If I zoom out and look across the area, we've already, and put on the storm reports that we've received already today, we've already gotten several warnings, even before, or excuse me, reports, even before the main line. Power outages, trees being knocked down, etc. And we're still dealing with the worst of the storms as I speak, because earlier today, it was still a little bit more of just very isolated storms. Now we're bringing in that full line of severe thunderstorms. Just keeping an eye on what the National Weather Service is saying. They're sticking with the tornado warning. They haven't added yet into Cuyahoga County quite yet, but if they continue to see this rotation, the problem is we're gonna lose it a little bit as it crosses, because we're so close to our radar site. It might start to get a little bit funky as it gets closer to North Olmsted, but for now we still have really decent eyes on it. And the reason that we are cutting into ABC's specials right now is because we have a tornado warning issued. If you're just joining us or concerned about what you're seeing in the area, most of us have severe thunderstorm warnings issued, severe thunderstorm watches. What we have for Lorain County is the tornado warning. This is the worst of the storms that are capable of producing damage due to the fact of that green and that red and how close they are to each other. And we just don't like to see that when we're looking at radar and the possibility of a tornado touching down. The reds and the greens doing a little dance with each other is not ideal. So inside of this box includes several communities. From Whiskeyville, you're getting the worst of it right now. It's likely going to pass ever so slightly, just ever so slightly to the north and west of Elyria, but still it's going to be very, very close to the center of Elyria. And then Sheffield, North Ridgeville, you're kind of up next. These storms are moving fast, or this tornado warned storm is moving pretty fast at about 50 miles per hour. So National Weather Service, quick look at the bigger picture. The severe portion of the line in pink moving northeast. That's the one where we have this warning. They're moving towards Cleveland. This line is capable of producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. So that goes back to what I was talking about, that even if this isn't a tornado, seeing these bright greens like this, it's not what you want to see on the radar. It does show that no matter what, damage is likely from these storms because just the amount of energy and the amount of wind that are in them. So you will likely have some tree damage, hopefully nothing too bad, but this is why you want to get into your safe spot, because you don't want to be outside taking pictures of these storms. It is an incredibly dangerous situation when you are talking about 60 to 70 miles an hour winds, whether it's a tornado or not. You do not want to be messing with Mother Nature. So get inside right now, especially in areas inside of to the west of Cleveland. But Cleveland, you are now also included in a severe thunderstorm warning, and this tornado warning is not that far away from you. So even if you're not seeing that much activity yet, let's just put it back over to reflectivity for argument's sake here, that we're starting to see some of that heavy rain move into Cuyahoga County, but there's still several spots that are still dry. This is what's coming toward you. And we have Medina County, you're in a severe thunderstorm warned box as well, not a tornado warning, but damaging wind still a possibility, hail still a possibility, and of course lightning. Moving out of Richland County, Richland, Mansfield, I'll give you the all clear. It's moving through Ashland County, headed into Wayne, headed into Holmes, headed into Coshocton counties. In the meantime, areas to the east, you're still pretty quiet, but this entire line is going to be moving through here. So we got a report of a tree down that's over in Knox County, 70-mile-an-hour gusts just measured per the National Weather Service at Lorain County. So that's in knots, which means 81 miles per hour. Putting this in perspective for you, that when you're talking about Category 1 hurricanes, they start at 74 miles per hour. So 81-mile-an-hour winds are incredibly dangerous and destructive. So even if you are inside the flashing orange box, when you are seeing winds that strong, this is a dangerous storm, and you certainly want to be inside and in your safe spot. Notice that the tornado warning is continuing to only get a trim. They have yet to continue to extend it. This tornado warning is in effect for another 9 minutes. If we are able to, if it does end up getting canceled, the worst of the rotation crosses out over the lake, we will send this back to programming. But I do intend on doing more social media stream live feeds and such. And so I would invite you to join me there. Hopefully we're able to do so that we can all take a little bit of a sigh of relief. But I do want you to be the main message here, that these are damaging storms and the threat continues for the next several hours. Even if we're able to drop this tornado warning, we could get another quick spin up at any time, and also straight line winds are still going to be an issue as well. So we'll do a little recap for everybody because we have these 9 minutes left. Severe thunderstorm warnings remain in effect for Cuyahoga, Medina, and Lorain counties. And as I mentioned, it's that whole line here. The worst of it, farther to the north, not far away from downtown Cleveland. So this is going to be an interesting next few minutes watching how the worst of this rotation passes, because it could get pretty close to Cleveland before it crosses out over the lake. And we can look at the worst of the rotation. Look at that. I mean, you're seeing these bright colors, and it's just not what you want to see when we're talking about the threat for severe storms. I would love to say that I think that this is a big nothing burger warning. It's just, and we're getting that ground truth from the report that we got at the Lorain airport. They have 81-mile-an-hour winds, and that's now moving. We still have these very strong winds that are moving from Elyria into North Ridgeville. The one positive is just how fast these storms are racing through. So while they'll be fast and furious and cause damage likely, they'll be in and out fairly quickly. When this tornado warning started about a half hour ago, it was all the way back in Erie and Huron County, which you are now in the clear. There are several communities to the west of us that are now in the clear. The problem is that we still have another 2-ish hours, maybe 2.5 hours of these storms as they continue to cross to the east side of Cleveland as well. So the reason for the tornado warning, very strong winds clocked at 81 miles an hour moving across Lorain County, and it's blasting to the east-northeast into Ridgeville, into North Ridgeville. So North Ridgeville, you are getting it right now. If you are not already in your safe spot, you need to get there now. We're going to be along the ride for you. Just make sure that you can do what you can. Turn your TV up loud. We're also streaming on social media, so you can bring your phone. Hopefully you don't lose power so you can continue to get that information, or at least hopefully that the data is still working so you can hear when you are in the all clear. But for now, from Sheffield to North Ridgeville, that is the worst of the storms that we are seeing. Tracking this storm out, I'm going to zoom it out just a smidge because it is moving north-northeast. It's going to get into western Cuyahoga, North Olmsted, Westlake in the next 5 to 10 minutes. National Weather Service noting that they have not made a decision if they are going to continue with a tornado warning, but widespread wind damage is a very likely scenario. Regardless if it's a tornado or not, we are likely going to get a lot of damage reports from these storms. And so this is why I want you to take these storms incredibly seriously. This is not the time to go outside and look at it. This is the time to get into your safe spot, whether that's a basement, an interior part of your house. So let's track this storm out. The one thing I will say is that the rotation is not overly tight. So there's still these strong damaging winds, but when we're looking, I'll zoom it in a little bit tighter. Oops. Sorry about that. It's clear. I will track it, I promise. But when we're looking, don't love this. This is the section I don't love. But bottom line, we still have from Sheffield into North Ridgeville, this area. I mean, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. It is lit up so much. And those are where we're already getting those reports of incredibly strong winds, tornado or not. And there's still some rotation, enough to keep the tornado warning going for at least the next 4 minutes. They haven't made their decision yet if they're going to continue it. I could see the argument to continue it just because of the threat for these damaging storms. When you're getting 81-mile-an-hour winds, that is destructive storms. I don't want to be dramatic here. We use these words and hold these words for storms. If you're seeing storms with 80-mile-an-hour winds, that is a destructive storm, and it can cause a lot of damage in its wake. So it's moving to the north-northeast. Do a little track here. Thankfully, again, it is moving fast. So out across the lake here by 9:20, 9:30. So that is the one positive of this storm, is that it is going to be moving quickly. But in the meantime, it's still going to pass areas where a lot of folks live. You've got Avon, 9:02, Westlake, 9:08, Bay Village, 9:11, Lakewood, 9:20. Rocky River, you're in there as well at 9:16. And again, that's just a rough track that I just did, right? We know that the storm's moving up to the north and east, and so that's the path that I tracked it. I do like seeing that the rotation is becoming just ever so slightly more diffuse. So it's not that tight rotation, but still, that I just want to hammer in. I know that a lot of times when you're wanting to watch something else, you get sick of listening to us, but we want to be there for our friends in North Ridgeville, Avon, moving towards Westlake, Bay Village. You're all included in this area of, at least at a minimum, strong storms, potentially tornadic storms as well. Okay, so National Weather Service agrees, a man named Jim Sullivan, he agrees as well that this has become a little bit more diffuse with this rotation. Just want to see, but with the extreme amount of wind that we are getting, the reports from this, now they're going with a severe thunderstorm warning of 80-mile-an-hour winds for Cuyahoga County. Based on that, even though it is not a tornado warning, and we don't usually stick with severe thunderstorm warnings, but I'm going to make the executive call to stay with it while this storm right here, this one from Avon to North Ridgeville, I'm going to stay on air, and I apologize if you're trying to watch something on ABC at 9 p.m., but when we're talking about 80-mile-an-hour winds, it is a very destructive storm. So while the tornado threat is coming down, what we want to be aware of is for our friends that are in the most western side of Cuyahoga County, like Bay Village, like Rocky River, like Westlake, as these storms continue to push toward you. And the good news is that it probably won't be too much after 9 p.m. that the worst of these very, very strong storms is out across the lake, affecting fewer people. Of course, any boaters or anything, it could be a fisherman, could be an issue. But for the most part, then we'll be able to send it back to programming. And in the meantime, I just want to do a quick scan. The rest of these storms, while they are severe, they are lacking in the amount of wind energy that the Lorain County storm has right now, so it is a positive. So actually, I'm just getting the alert. Your phone might be vibrating too. And that's because of this emergency alert. National Weather Service severe thunderstorm warning in effect for our communities. So this is this separate orange box right here. This is for a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. And it is because of the threat of 80-mile-an-hour winds. Flying debris may be deadly to those caught without shelter. So while this is not, they're not going to continue with the tornado warning. That doesn't matter. It is all about the winds that have already been reported in Lorain County, 80-mile-an-hour winds. When you're talking 80-mile-an-hour winds, it's comparable. Of course, you could argue it's not comparable, but when we're talking about Category 1 hurricanes, those start at 74-mile-an-hour winds. This is now stronger than that with reports of 80-mile-an-hour winds. So now we have a huge, very populous area included in this destructive severe thunderstorm warning. And it includes communities such as Avon Lake, Avon. You're getting the worst of it at this moment. Let's zoom in right here where we're seeing the strongest of these storms from North Ridgeville into Avon, North Olmsted. You're up next, and it's going to be sliding just to the south of Westlake. Again, I mean, the rotation is basically non-existent at this point, but the threat for these damaging storms is going to continue. I would say they have it till 9:45. We'll definitely be monitoring it at that time. And like I mentioned, I'm going to stick with this warning because it is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Most of the time when we're talking 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds, streaming online is enough, but I think that this is a dangerous enough situation to stick with it. If you live in the area, you just got that same emergency alert from the National Weather Service, which is, like I said before, we don't use the word destructive lightly. This is a serious situation. It can be deadly, not the time to go outside, especially because there's probably nothing to take pictures of at this point. The sun is going down. The tornado threat has come down. It's all about the winds. So still, the same rules apply. When you are having a destructive thunderstorm, get away from windows. Get into the most interior part of your house. Get into the basement because there is still this incredible threat. And it does include downtown Cleveland, and it also includes Parma, Brooklyn, Lakewood, and then on more of that northeast side, that's where we have Euclid, Cleveland Heights, University, Shaker Heights. You still have some time until the worst of the storm is passing through you. The problem is it's going to look weaker for a brief period of time because it's so close to the radar site. But once it gets to the other side, and we can be confident that it is still happening as it continues to move. Now it's headed right into Westlake. Again, that's one positive, is that the storms are moving fast. But with that fast and furious, causing those damaging winds of 70 to 80-mile-an-hour winds. And they are expecting, from Jim Sullivan, expecting widespread damage as this pushes through Cleveland Metro. Though it's not a tornado warning, they're saying the exact same thing I am, that the damage may be very similar, where you're getting widespread damage across the area and people should not be driving across the area when you're dealing with these destructive winds across the area. So we're just going to reset really quick. I'm going to take a sip of water really fast, and then we'll continue with the severe thunderstorm warning. Okay. Welcome. I'm still going to stick with this cut-in at 9:02 p.m. because of the threat for destructive winds across Northeast Ohio. This is affecting areas from the west side to the east side. The worst of the winds right now being indicated right near the airport, truth be told. This hole here, that is the radar site. So you do have Westlake in the worst of the storms, North Olmsted, and then you're not gonna see much for a couple of minutes as it crosses right over the radar. But we are certain that there are still very, very strong winds moving through this area, and it's going to continue to push up to the north and east. So this includes areas from Bird's Nest, Brooklyn, Parma, and then continuing into Cleveland. And even just outside of the worst of the storm, you still have some strong winds moving into downtown Cleveland as I speak. We'll flip over to just regular. This is known as reflectivity. That shows this is a multi-threat event here. So the winds, the biggest issue at this point, the tornado threat has come down that we had in Erie, Huron, and also Lorain County. But there was a report from the Lorain airport of 81-mile-an-hour winds. That storm now moving into Cuyahoga County. It's on the west side at this moment. There is also tons of lightning. Bottom line, we are expecting, whether it's tornadic or not, which it does not look tornadic anymore, this is still going to be a very destructive storm as it continues to push. I'm hoping that the worst of the winds cross out over the lake, but you're still going to get the southern flank as it crosses right now over the radar site, so AKA the airport, passing between Cleveland and Parma. I don't hear anything super intense in the moment in downtown Cleveland, but it's still ever so slightly just to the west of us. And we do still have additional severe thunderstorm warnings as well, just a quick scan. And I just want to make a note that normally we would not be doing a cut-in. It is due to the fact that you have that destructive tag listed. And I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything else, any other alerts. And it doesn't look like it right now. So the biggest concern is still what we're seeing. And this is a perfect example where you can get those reds and greens here, but they're not real tight together. It doesn't look super indicative of a tornado warning, but you still have those spikes of green. So even outside of the destructive severe thunderstorm warning, from Bennett's Corner down through I-271 into Granger, you still have these areas where maybe it's not 80-mile-an-hour winds, but 60 to 70. So widespread damage continues even farther down to the south, especially as they continue to push toward Richfield and also for Bath. You're seeing more of those spikes. I'm not as impressed with the storms, at least at this moment. Things can always change. At this moment, you have a severe thunderstorm warning for Wayne County as well, and it just got extended into Stark. You also have it for Holmes and Coshocton, but looking at that line, not seeing anything rotating, and also not seeing anything overly concerning when it comes to the threat for destructive storms like what we have farther to the north. And the reason for that cut-in, or the reason for this cut-in, I should say, is due to the fact that we have destructive winds, 70 to 80-mile-an-hour winds crossing over Cuyahoga County right now. The worst of it currently right around the radar site, so we just don't have the best view of it at the moment, but it's headed Fairview Park, Rockport. You're going to be seeing some of these very, very intense winds. We're even starting to see just on the other side here, that bright little area of pink near Brook Park and Short Line Junction moving towards Parma. So we're going to see those very strong winds here passing right probably about Brooklyn to Parma. You're likely going to see this widespread damage. And I don't ever want to be dramatic. When I don't think it's a big deal, I'll say it. At this moment, this is a very concerning severe thunderstorm warning, especially just based on its history. If we see it weaken, that would be fantastic. At the time, though, we're not seeing it weaken. Unfortunately, we're actually not getting a good view of it. But as it continues to progress out to the east, we'll be able to start to see it again. And in probably just another scan or two that we'll be able to get a better view of what we're looking at. We're already starting to see it. And even outside of the worst of the storms, you're already starting to pick up winds here. You're still in a severe thunderstorm warning, even outside of that destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Independence, for example, Brecksville, Bedford, you're all in a severe thunderstorm warning as well. And even around Medina, Granger, this little area here. Look, I love seeing how fast they're moving because it's always, let's get these out of here. It's a destructive storm. Let's move them out as fast as we can so that we can be done with the damaging storms. And for everybody across the area, even if you are not currently seeing severe thunderstorm warnings, Lake County, you're not far from this destructive storm. Start thinking about it now, that this storm could continue with its strength as it continues to push to the east. And same thing with Ashtabula. We had already had a couple tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings issued earlier today, but this is all based on some straight line winds that we're dealing with at the moment. And it does look like, let me just scan back about 15 minutes. I don't think I got a trim. Not yet. So the destructive severe thunderstorm warning is still including, I think that the worst of the storms has now passed for areas, I can confidently say, areas in Lorain County. I think Lorain, Elyria, you're likely still, let's flip over to just reflectivity real quick. Yeah, I mean, it's significantly calmer. So I'll go ahead and give the all clear to Lorain County, including Amherst, South Amherst, Oberlin, which is when we first started this cut-in. You were my focus. Now things are calming down significantly for you, and the worst is happening in the heart of Cleveland and greater Cleveland around Cuyahoga County, moving now towards Brooklyn, Parma, that's where we're seeing the worst of these winds. It's coming out on the other side of the radar. So this is where you're getting, remember how we talked about this? When we're looking for rotation on the west side of Cleveland and the west side of the radar where we have this hole here, when you're not seeing rotation, it's going to show up as green. When you're going away from the radar site, as it crosses over, goes to the east side, you'll see it in red. When we're looking for rotation, that's the reds and greens getting all jumbled together. But at this moment, the rotation's not the issue. What we're watching are these spikes of just widespread destructive winds that are moving through. So at this moment, some of the worst of the winds that we're going to be seeing, Lakewood all the way down to Short Line Junction, Brooklyn, you're not far behind at this moment. And these storms, thankfully, moving to the northeast at about 50 miles an hour. So I'm going to actually scan, because we're not seeing that rotation, I'm going to scan this whole storm, pull it up to the north and east, 51 miles an hour to give you an idea about timing here. So Parma Heights, you're in the thick of it right now. Brooklyn, you are as well. We're just going to say, even though it's 2 minutes from now, for Brooklyn, Parma, 9:12, 9:13, you need to be into your safe spot right now. Bracknell, you've got till 9:20. Let's shave 5 minutes off that. You have 5 minutes to make sure, move your car inside, whatever you got to do, and then get into your safe spot before these storms move. The problem is that they are moving incredibly fast. It's a good and a bad thing. When you're trying to get into your safe spot, though, minutes matter. We have Richmond Heights, 9:27, Euclid, 9:27, Highland Heights, 9:29. I would love to see that this severe thunderstorm and this destructive severe thunderstorm, right, that it begins to weaken as it continues to push to the north and east. But for the time being, we still have that destructive tag. If I start to see that these colors start to diminish, it actually is just becoming more widespread, truth be told. There's this huge area of very strong winds, and I can actually hear it now. So I'm on Chester 30th for Channel 5's location, and I can hear the wind now starting to move toward downtown Cleveland. So the worst of the winds from the lake, and including Lakewood, all the way down to about Parma. That is the worst of the winds at this moment. Let's just keep an eye on a couple other spots. These are going to be the little problems as we move throughout the day, or the evening, I should say. Right here, this little notch. I don't love it. It's not terrible, but it's what we'll monitor as we move throughout the course of the night. There is not a tornado warning there yet. Same thing here. I've never seen that town. I apologize if I say it wrong. Jade? It almost looks like Katy, but Jade and Sagamore Hills, you also have that little bit of spike of red and greens next to each other. Strong winds. There are still damaging storms elsewhere outside of this destructive severe thunderstorm warning, including now moving in from Brandywine all the way down into Copley, moving into Cuyahoga Falls and Akron. You are also now included in a severe thunderstorm warning. Portage, my friend from earlier today, you are also now underneath a severe thunderstorm warning. Coming off of the tornado warning from earlier today, you are now in a new severe thunderstorm warning as these storms continue to push to the east. The worst of those storms farther to the north. I mean, it is a bullseye here. From Lakewood to Brooklyn, headed toward the Tremont area, for example, Little Bohemia, and downtown Cleveland will likely get hit. And the problem with these storms is that both myself, National Weather Service, concerned about the fact that they have had a history of producing 81-mile-an-hour winds, which that is a different caliber of a severe thunderstorm warning. Whether they go out, likely tomorrow they're going to have to go out and do some surveys here. They will find damage of storms. Some of it's going to be straight line winds, and some of it is going to be from the possibility of a tornado as well. But as it comes out on the other side here of the radar site, when you start to see these pinks showing up, those are very, very strong winds. So one thing I'll always note is that the radar site sometimes is a little too lackadaisical about how strong the winds really are. This is probably another 70, maybe 75-mile-an-hour wind just associated with this destructive severe thunderstorm warning that we have as it continues to move now. I mean, it's into downtown Cleveland, Parma, Cleveland, and then it will continue to push up to the north and east. I would love to see it weaken before it continues to wreak havoc on more communities, but even so, we still have Now they're battling for attention here, those different storms, because, sorry, my computer's being just a little funky. So now around this area between Cuyahoga Falls and Bath, there's not a ton of rotation, but you're still seeing those spikes of red and green, right? That shows where you can have those very destructive storms. And this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 10:15. If I'm able to get rid of this destructive tag on this current severe thunderstorm warning, this one that's flashing, you see how that's a slight difference? You've got this more solid orange versus this lighter. That's due to the destructive tag. You may have gotten, I know I did, from the National Weather Service. It almost sounded like an Amber Alert or something. They do not issue those often. So when there is a threat for widespread damaging storms, and honestly, that's what we're seeing. The one thing I can say about tornadoes is usually it's one little section that's getting hit. This is widespread damage moving from now, let's say Independence, all the way up into Cleveland. It's moving into downtown Cleveland as I speak, and you have these spikes. The bright red's already going to be an issue, but also you have these spikes here of some pinks showing up as well. As I mentioned, there is this destructive severe thunderstorm warning, and it is due to the fact that we have had reports already of 80-mile-an-hour winds, and so that is still going to be a possibility. Winds of up to 80 miles or even exceeding 80 miles an hour for the next 30 minutes with this particular severe thunderstorm warning. This has a destructive tag, and that is where it's different than just your regular severe thunderstorm warning. Don't get me wrong, every severe thunderstorm warning can cause damage, and it can really impact your life. But we will likely end up with widespread damage in a very populous area in Cuyahoga County, in Cleveland, Parma. This is kind of that perfect example that you can live in a major city and you can still get a ton of damage from storms. The positive here is that we're starting to see, I can give the all clear for several communities. Basically, to the west of Cleveland, you are in the clear now with the severe threat, even if you still have some severe thunderstorm warnings issued. Let's just flip over to reflectivity. Yeah, so Lorain County, Ashland, Mansfield, Richland County, you're all okay right now. My big concern is what's happening in downtown Cleveland from Independence to about Cleveland at this moment. And a new update from the National Weather Service, Jim Sullivan helping, it's a great partnership, right, that news meteorologists have with the National Weather Service. They're the ones issuing it, but we're analyzing it as well, keeping you posted on what we're seeing, but then just being able to communicate with them and what they've gotten report-wise. And if you have any reports of damage, once it's safe, please let the Power 5 weather team know. You can always take pictures and send them in to us as well, because I'm in one spot in downtown Cleveland that's getting hit as I speak. We'll be able to see what happens around our neighborhood, but we want to see what happened in your neighborhood as well. And they're getting some damage of some reports of tree damage, in Cuyahoga County. Based on the observations from the Cleveland Airport and radar trends, it has appeared that the winds have come down from that 80-mile-an-hour winds, so that is a good thing. But as the line pushes across Cuyahoga, lowered it to 70-mile-an-hour winds at this point. So that is still notable in terms of what a 70-mile-an-hour wind can do versus, say, 50. 50 can cause damage. You can get damage, you can get a tree uprooted at 45-mile-an-hour winds. But a severe thunderstorm warning gets issued when you have 58-mile-per-hour winds or greater. So still 70-mile-an-hour winds, while it's not 80, and it's good to see it come down, this storm is still no joke. And I don't know if one of my producers or anything wants to come in and let me know. I would like to stay with the warning if they're okay with that, just until it crosses Cleveland and kind of gets out of that destructive warned box, because it still does have that capability of 70-mile-an-hour winds. I'm just listening for a second. I mean, I can hear all the water and just how strong the winds are. We haven't taken any power hits yet at the station, which is a positive, but the worst of the winds moving right now, Cleveland, Tremont, Little Bohemia, Miles, Cuyahoga Heights, Brooklyn Heights, we're all in the thick of it together right now as these very strong winds, more so like 70-mile-an-hour winds, but still, it's a notable severe thunderstorm warning. 66, it's picking up here, 65. So 65 to 70-mile-an-hour winds. Oh, it looks like we're getting from Blossom a shelter in place, which makes sense. Mumford and Sons is in town. I'm just looking at some of these warnings. So this is actually from my news director, Jody Heisner. Lightning alert, so Blossom is in their shelter in place due to the fact that this storm is moving towards Cuyahoga Falls as we speak at this moment. I'm also just gonna look at a couple, because a lot of times I don't have the pace. Okay, so yes, my assistant news director wants me to stay on until these storms pass through. So it's good to get some of this information, and I do hope that you appreciate it. If you haven't seen me before, I'm meteorologist Katie McGraw, and we have all of these severe thunderstorm warnings that are ongoing. Getting some reports that, yeah, more like 60, 65 mile an hour winds, which is, it's an improvement, but still, there was a reason that severe thunderstorm warnings have the threshold that they do, and that includes that once you get to 58 mile an hour winds, the likelihood of damage does go up. And once these get out of our neck of the woods, that's when, or at least gets out of this destructive severe thunderstorm warning, I will then send it back to programming, and we'll continue to stream on Facebook, on YouTube, things like that. So other folks on the east side, we don't want to leave you out as those storms start to approach the area, especially as an east sider myself. We don't want to leave you out. Just going to do a little bit of a regroup here. Okay, thank you. So my producer is in my ear. Have you guys gotten any reports of damage, more so than what I've heard from the National Weather Service? They've reported some tree damage. Have you guys seen anything? Okay. Okay, so we're actually going to take a live look in downtown Cleveland, where we still have this destructive severe thunderstorm warning. This is moving over me right now. I can hear the rain in our studio, and I can hear those strong winds as well. And it's always important to keep in mind that when you have a severe thunderstorm warning, usually there's one element of the storm that gets our attention. This just proves that there's so much more to it. So the winds have gotten my attention for the last, been on for, I don't even remember. I don't remember when I went on, but it got my attention because of the threat for a tornado. Then it was the destructive winds. But there's also still, let's look and see some hail here. Still the possibility of seeing hail, still the possibility also of heavy rain. When we're looking at that heavy rain, when you're seeing those pinks there, this can then lead, especially something known as training. It basically means that you get hit repeatedly with rounds of heavy rain. Okay, so my director, Emily, taking us to a photo of Lorain County. Look at that. Wow. And this is in, I'm sorry, where was this, Carl? Amherst. Certainly some lowering of the clouds, if not a tornado on the ground. It's always hard to tell from a picture. It looks like that. And that was when we had some of the strongest rotation. No doubt at least a funnel or a wall cloud that pulled farther down to the south. Truly a beautiful photo showing the threat of damage that we had. That's why we started this cut-in a while ago, back when we had the rotation. Now that concern and threat has kind of shifted to the damaging winds. We've got the shelter in place for Blossom. Heed those warnings. Let's look at other spots while I have you, because we will, once I feel better about that destructive severe thunderstorm warning, as I mentioned, we'll be able to go back to programming. So I lost my, okay, there we go. Oh, well, we're going to get a tornado warning, actually. So I hope you enjoy the coverage, because we're going to continue this. Tornado warning issued, Geauga, Summit, Portage. There it is. All right, so new threat. Our focus is shifting farther south. Just a couple minutes ago, I was talking about how we were seeing some of those reds and greens lining up with each other. Between Hudson and Metz is where I'm going to guess is the worst of the rotation. Absolutely. So let's look at some details about this tornado warning. It's moving fast, but everybody inside this pink box, so this includes Cuyahoga Falls, where we have shelter in place here. We have Hudson, the worst of the rotation, right over you. It's fairly diffused, but still, you're getting just enough reds and greens mixing in with each other that there is the potential for a tornado to touch down. That photo that we just saw, that was in Lorain County earlier today, maybe an hour ago, and that certainly had some lowering happening. This is not as impressive of rotation, but there's no denying that this is a very, very strong storm hovered around Darrowwood, Hudson, Chittenden Quarter. These are all the areas that we're watching. I'm going to look at reflectivity really quickly here. So you got right here is, oops, right here is where we need to be concerned about the threat for a tornado warning. And this tornado warning is 8 miles north of Akron, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. So that's why when we look at the entire warning here, let's clear some things. When you look at the entire warning, it does go up to the north and also the east. But we still also have the destructive severe thunderstorm warning and several other severe thunderstorm warnings as well. And this tornado warning is in effect until 9:45, the same as the destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Hopefully at that time, that's when I'll be able to send you back to programming. But for now, we're here to get you through the storm. And if you are in any of these flashing boxes, particularly, you know, there's some spots here, for example, you're in Ashland, you're even Kilbuck, you have about like 5 more minutes. New London, Lodi, the threat has passed for you. But otherwise, if you were in any of these flashing boxes, now extended into Lake County, we have this tornado warning for Summit, Geauga, and also Portage again. This time, Portage County had a tornado warning earlier today for southern Portage County. Now it's northern Portage County getting in on the action of that rotation. This tornado warning includes, once again, several communities that a lot of folks live in. These are not wood storms. These are not fish storms. These are hitting a lot of people at this time. And the worst of the rotation, I'm going to flip on over again to look at the velocity, because velocity is always going to be our best friend when we're talking about tornadoes and just strong winds in general. And there's no denying, you see those spikes of greens and reds showing that at a minimum you have some strong damaging winds. And I shouldn't even say at a minimum, because we had earlier today 81-mile-an-hour winds. So they are certainly, I would think we're going to end up with a lot of damage across the area. It's going to be, I think, fairly widespread just based on what we've seen on the radar. I hope I'm wrong, honestly. And once these storms pass for you, I would love to get any reports from you, what kind of damage you had. Also, if you have any photos, safely. That is always the key, especially if there's power outages, a bunch of lines down. It's better just go back inside, wait for authorities to come and make sure that everything's done safely. So it's over Stowe now. We're pushing into Hudson and then towards Kent and Streetsboro in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So in terms of all of the rotation that we've seen today, it's pretty diffuse, but there's no denying that you're seeing some of those reds and those greens mixing in with each other here. And this is not uncommon when we have these squall lines push through, where you get little areas and some notches within where you can get a brief spin up. Sometimes by the time the tornado warning is issued, the worst of the storm has kind of already passed, and that could be a scenario. All right, so I don't like that one. This little spot right here where we have the spike of red, these are all known as a gate. So you have these little boxes, these little rectangles, and when they're right next to each other, when they're butted up, different colors, that is more likely that you're getting a tornado on the ground. And when they're brighter colors, it's a stronger storm. So that's this is why we have this tornado warning. And it's like picking a needle out of a haystack. Just finding that little area in red is what caught my attention. And we've gotten a 56-mile-an-hour wind gust at Bark. So compare that to that 81-mile-an-hour wind that we got in Lorain. Still, very strong winds. Certainly dangerous, but a big improvement. I'm sorry about my throat clearing. Let me actually just take a quick sip of water, and then we'll keep going with this cut-in. Okay. All right, so let's reset actually while we're doing that. We are cutting into ABC programming. We've been on, I believe, for about an hour at this point, because we had a tornado warning that was issued a while ago down in Lorain County. And it actually started in Erie and Huron County. Those areas are no longer in the threat for severe thunderstorms. Even some spots that are still included right now, like this more western side of this severe thunderstorm warning, you're in the clear. You're just dealing with rain at this moment. The worst of the storms currently hovered between Akron and Cleveland. Cleveland currently has a tag for a destructive severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. That was due to the fact that there was a report at the Lorain airport of 81-mile-an-hour winds, and that thankfully these wind speeds have come down a smidge. Still a very strong and powerful storm as it's now moving to the east of Cleveland into Euclid, South Euclid as well. Then you have in between the destructive severe thunderstorm warning and the tornado warning, you still have a warned storm. Looking at the line as a whole, it almost looks like, I'm going to stand on the other side, it almost looks like an archer's bow, right? So you're going to get the strongest winds right on that leading edge of this squall line as it continues to push to the east. And we have this severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Lake County, for example, until 10 p.m. If we see the rotation come down from the tornado warning and the destructive winds have already thankfully come down, we'll be able to send it back to programming. And I hope that that's the case, but we'll still be watching these storms as they progress east on other streaming devices. In the meantime, our biggest concern at the moment, you've got my attention, Hudson, Stowe, actually the worst of the rotation is crossing over 80 here and between Streetsboro and also Twinsburg. So yeah, see how the reds and the greens, it's almost like they're smooching. You get these little areas where they start to get close to each other. I don't want to diminish the threat because there is certainly a concern with the rotation here. It's ugly right here. I don't like the way that it looks, but it's not the tightest rotation I've ever seen either. It could still cause damage though, as these continue to move up to the north and east. So areas that we're going to be concerned about in the next 5-10 minutes, Manaway, you're in the line of fire here. Aurora, you're likely probably on the most northern edge of it. And then Streetsboro, Shalersville, you guys are all in an area that I want you to watch. I think that the worst of it's going to be moving up to the north and also the east. So we're going to do a little track here. Actually, let me make sure I got the... So Northern Summit, you've been removed from the tornado warning, which is good. So this is, let's do our track here where the worst of the rotation is. It's moving about 45 miles an hour to the north and east. So Manaway, what time are we at? We're at 9:31. Manaway, you have 5 minutes, we'll say. Getting into your safe spot, that interior part of your house, basement, bring flashlights, grab your cell phone. We're streaming on multiple sites as well, so you can always get that information. Even if you do lose power, hopefully then you're still able to watch, especially when we can give you the all clear that the worst of the storms have passed. You can also always bring a blanket with you, get your pets, bring everybody into that interior part of your house. Hiram, 9:45. Nelson, 9:51. Middlefield, 9:56. Farmington, you are at 9:59. Farmington, you are not currently included in any severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's just go ahead and assume that for Ashtabula and also Trumbull counties, that you are both going to also get the severe thunderstorm warning tags as they continue to push to the east. Let's do a quick little scan back for this destructive storm. I just want to make sure I'm focusing in the right spot at the right time. So we're going to take it back even farther, actually. Let's go 1 hour and compare what we were seeing. So when it was over Elyria, for example, that was when we had a tornado warning. It was still rotating, but that was also when it was producing 80-mile-an-hour winds. It has continued to push through Cuyahoga County into Cleveland, and we're getting a trim on that destructive severe thunderstorm warning that was issued, and it goes in effect, it stays in effect, until 9:45. But the winds have, I would say, have come down quite a bit for that storm, which is good as it has continued to push to the east. In the meantime, we're starting to see the worst. So that means that the worst of the storms that we have right now is this storm in Portage County. And this is also in effect until 9:45. That means Trumbull County, you might have already had a tornado warning earlier today. You could get another one. Portage did too. And so you could, we could also see just those straight line winds as well. Excuse me, I apologize. Okay. So what I want, let's do another, sorry, my computer's being a little funky. I apologize. There we go. So we still have several other severe thunderstorm warnings. I don't want to leave out anyone across the area. So down south of Akron, you certainly have some strong winds. Loyal Oak, Barberton, you see those spikes of red. It's not in the tornado warning, it's not in the destructive warning, but you're still definitely seeing some of those very strong winds, enough for you to still get damage associated with it. The rest of the line, it's not screaming to me yet. We will continue to monitor what's happening down in our southern communities. I just don't want to leave anybody out, like in Coshocton, like in Tuscarawas County, Carroll County. You are all still included in severe thunderstorm warnings. But our big focus here is this tornado warning. Oh, look at that. So once again, if you missed my explainer before, when you zoom in really tight like this on velocity, when you have severe thunderstorms, you can see what kind of looks like just a mess when you're zoomed out. Zoomed in, you can see all of these little rectangles, and when they're close to each other and different colors of that red, or a shade of red and green, or a shade of green, and they're starting to kind of twist around each other, that's where you have this radar indicated tornado, which is why we have the radar indicated tornado warning in effect for the next 10 minutes as it moves from, it's moving to the north and east. So the worst of the rotation right now is in between Streetsboro and Manaway, moving towards Silo, Manaway Center. You're getting the worst of the storm as it continues to move up to the north and east. And it stops before we get to Trumbull County, but still, if it holds together, that will be then a continuation into our cut-in, and also a continuation into the damage that's expected. And truth be told, I think that we're going to still be dealing with damaging storms for probably about another hour. And a new warning issued this time, it's a flash flood warning. Take that as almost as seriously as destructive severe thunderstorm warnings and also tornado warnings. Flash floods, flooding is one of the top death-related, weather-related deaths. So heat and floods are one of the highest ones. So you certainly do not want to mess around with a flash flood warning. So that is from, there's so many alerts right now, it's actually hard to see where it ends. I think it ends right where this tornado warning ends, because I don't see the red box anywhere else, but it's due to how much rain's fallen. So let's look at the 3-hour rainfall totals. We're looking at 1 to 2 inches minimum in those spots. And so we have now a flash flood warning in effect. Let's see what time that's in effect till. Until 12:30 a.m. Essentially, when you get a flash flood warning, stay home, because especially now that the sun's down, you can't see how deep the water is. You can't even see sometimes that the water is deep. And so this is a serious situation for Twinsburg, Hudson, and areas that we just had a tornado warning in. We also have the tornado warning now getting a bit of a trim. We still have this warning for a couple of more minutes, and it's moving through Portage County as we speak. Hi guys, do you guys have any reports or anything? Are you guys?
No, eventually you're going to need to change your batteries in your stuff, so I'm just going to take over for a second.
Okay, I can do that now if you want to come over, and because I can do it pretty fast. All right, Rob Powers, everybody.
Hey, is this thing on? Yeah, hi. I am no weather expert, but Katie's got to change the batteries in her microphone and her battery pack. So what we can tell you, give you an update on what's happening right now at Blossom Music Center. There's a show out there right now, Mumford & Son. That show on hold. You can see the alert here from the venue itself. If you were in the pavilion, shelter in place, if you were out on the grass, they wanted you to evacuate calmly and get to your vehicles. So that is what's happening out there. Katie, I popped my head outside the door. Scary stuff just in our parking lot here. And in our studio right now, you can hear the water draining through the pipes coming off the roof. My goodness. So
I've been waiting for it to like pour in.
Well, fingers crossed. There's a live look downtown right now, downtown Cleveland. This is not what it looked like just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's moving fast. That's the one positive with these storms, is that they're moving generally at about 45, 50 miles an hour. So kind of what you would do on a state route or something.
So right now what we're doing is compiling some of the photographs from viewers that we've seen on Twitter. We need to get permission to use them. If you do happen to have photos or video of damage or an awesome view of the clouds as the storm rolled through, please just tag News 5, and we'll get them on the air for you. But that's what's slowing up that process right now. We just need to get these things verified and then permission to use them.
Well, thank you, Rob, and I appreciate you giving me the quick little stop here so that we didn't lose
do more.
audio.
So you're doing great. Keep on going.
Thank you, Rob.
Keep
All right.
us safe.
Will do. I'll do my best. And if this feels like a good time to kind of regroup here, because we have multiple threats across Northeast Ohio. At this moment, we have a tornado warning. That's going to be that main headline, that we have a tornado warning that is in effect right now. I believe it's only for Portage County. Let me get my own bearings here. Where are county lines here? Yeah, it's, well, no, and a little bit of Geauga County as well. Southern Geauga County. And so that's due to the fact that we have some radar indicated rotation showing up. We still also have the destructive severe thunderstorm warning. The winds have weakened and basically moved out. So Cleveland, I'm going to go ahead, give you the all clear. Doesn't mean it's not raining. And let's throw on the lightning really quick just to see what's going on here. Oh my gosh, so much lightning. Hence why Blossom had that shelter in place. If we put the counter on, there's so many threats with these storms. From heavy rain that could lead to flooding, we have a flash flood warning. From lightning, that any storm's dangerous when there's lightning, to tornadoes, to damaging winds as well. Okay, so National Weather Service has just given an update here about the rotation that we're seeing. Currently, our biggest issue is that tornado warning. You'll see this a lot when you get a line of showers and storms. They take turns who's causing the most problems. And at this moment, it's moving right into Manaway, continuing into Hiram as well. We're gonna flip back over because what we're looking at is what you're used to seeing, right? This is just reflectivity. We're gonna flip on over, and the worst of the rotation moving over Manaway Center as I speak, and it does have, it looks like it's gonna continue to move up more towards the north and east. So Hiram Rapids, you're gonna be included in this. Pope's Corner, you're included in this as well. And there's still even, I did see just a spike of pink someplace. It must have been, maybe it was just an error on the radar because it was behind the main line. But you could still see even outside of this rotation, because the rotation is fairly small. Like I mentioned before, when you're getting a tornado, it's a fairly isolated event. Even though the polygon and the warning is going to be huge, typically where you're actually getting damage is maybe a couple miles wide, but we're still seeing with all of these storms just that widespread swath of some strong winds. So even outside of the worst of the rotation, you get down into Shalersville and Manaway, away from Manaway Center, you're still seeing that you're getting those spikes of some strong winds. Same thing when you go farther up to the north here, like in Burton Lake, just around the edge of that tornado warning. Same thing with Burton, just regular Burton, and then continuing into now portions of Geauga County. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County as well. So far, what I'm seeing on the winds, not our biggest issue. It is certainly the rotation that's farther down to the south. Let's get a new scan here. I would say the bigger issue with this storm, I'm not impressed with the rotation at the moment. You can see it oscillate a lot though, especially when you get these squall lines and you get these little notches within the line, and that's when it can weaken, it can go up and down, and tornadoes are not known to, they are known to sometimes lift and then come back down. So right now, there is still certainly enough rotation to continue to monitor this tornado warning. And just like I mentioned, that even outside of the tornado warning, you're still seeing some of those very, very strong winds. Let's see farther north here, what do we got? So Newberry Center, we're just gonna monitor these little areas. See how there's just slight little indents? It's not overly impressive, but it's what we'll be watching as they continue to move into Ashtabula and also Trumbull counties. Farther down to the south, let's not leave out anyone across the area. As the only reason I'm walking away from the tornado warning for a second is because I think that the rotation has weakened enough to feel comfortable to pull away for just a second, because we still have a severe thunderstorm warning for Stark County. We also have it for Summit as well, but the worst of it is moving away from Akron as I speak. Canton, you're in the thick of it, that line of storms. Again, similar to Lake County, not the worst of the storms, but certainly could still see some damage here. And same thing farther down to the south. Not seeing anything overly concerning. There's this little area where a spike of red showing up for New Philadelphia, where you could certainly get some damage. And then these severe thunderstorms should be out of here pretty fast, which is good news. And it does look like they've expired. The tornado warning, we'll stick with it for just a couple minutes. So the National Weather Service is agreeing with me that they are also seeing that the threat for rotation has come down, which is fantastic news. I'm also just going to give a quick little, because sometimes people text me and I don't see it until later, and people are giving some reports and stuff. Okay, it doesn't look like I'm getting any reports. It's mostly just people, mostly my friends and family, frankly. All right, so the good news is that tornado warning has expired. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this cut-in that we're doing, but I'm gonna swiftly then join back onto YouTube and Facebook just to get these storms out of here. I'm gonna wait just because it's me and I don't want to go off too fast, but I just want to make sure that the pink flashing box goes away. And in the meantime, I'll just give my final spiel here that we still have damaging storms moving throughout Northeast Ohio. It's multi-layered with the threat here. We have got damaging winds possible all the way from New Philadelphia, our most southern communities, down into New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County, continuing up through Stark and now into Portage County. They did end up dropping that tornado warning. The destructive tag has also been dropped. But then the last thing that I will mention is that we still have that flash flood warning in effect until 12:30 for a section of Summit County. Let me just make sure with that flash flood warning. Oh, you can tell me, go ahead. Okay, so what we cut into was the 2020 Karen Reed special. As somebody that's been following that case as well, I would have loved to watch it instead of covering these destructive storms. If you want to watch that or record it at some point, it will be replaying at 1:05, Carl? 1:05 a.m. So in the meantime, since we are at 9:46 and the worst of the storms have passed, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back into programming. But you'll get to see my face again at 11 p.m. And at that point, the worst of the storms will have passed. Look for us to be streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully we get up and running in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, please be safe. And if you did get any damage, please send those photos to us. Getting that ground truth is so important. Thank you so much for watching.
There are no legal setbacks that will keep Cianci from politics.
He was sworn in to practice law in Rhode Island in 1967, and prior to that, he worked as a criminal prosecutor.
He got involved in an organized crime task force, and he was very good at what he was doing, knocking down these organized crime groups.
Riding the wave of his legal achievements, Buddy considers a new career in politics.
He was convinced he was capable of doing at least as good a job as everybody else.